All right, Joel Gausten here from joelgausten.com. Aside from a brief hello at a Misfits reunion show a few years back, which my guest just reminded me of, this is the first time this gentleman I'm looking at to my left and I have had a proper conversation in probably 25 years, I'm guessing, at the very least. It's been a long time. So I'm very happy to welcome from my home state of New Jersey, Mike Ramirez. Mike, great seeing you, man.
It was great to see you too, man. Always good to see you.
Yeah, I'm really happy you are able to do this podcast and we can chat a bit about our, collective experiences way back in the day and what you're doing now. For the viewer who's not familiar with Mike, Mike is a staple of the New Jersey punk scene. I encountered Mike for the first time in the mid 90s. You were doing a band at that point called the Despised New Jersey, which we'll definitely dive into. Mike's also been a very active promoter for decades now. Put on great shows and still does down in the Jersey Shore area, we'll say, and partly responsible for my entry point into the undead many, many years ago. So we'll get into all that stuff, but um, let's kind of begin really rewinding the machine a little bit and getting into the beginnings of your experiences in music. You are from New Jersey originally, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, have you always been kind of in that Jersey Shore area, we'll say?
Yeah, we my family moved here from New York and we came to Bricktown. That's literally a hop skipping away from the ocean. It's all Ocean County. Moved around a lot within the Ocean County area. Like if you name any town, we probably lived there because, I had a single mother and we bounced around a lot. But yeah, I mean, as much as I want to leave, for some reason I'm still here. You know,
Dude, I'll tell you, I've lived up in New Hampshire now since 2009. But most of my social life is still in New Jersey. So I hit Jersey quite often because that magnet that we both know,
we're spoiled here. We got good music here. There's always something. I always feel like a lot of people take it for granted around here. Like there's always something going on. There's always a good theme. The only time I ever saw it slow down, maybe the early 2000s. Just felt like a black hole for a little while around here.
well, that's good to know things are active because things were always very active with you in particular, booking a lot of things happening in like the mid 90s to late 90s especially. But what kind of got you into music to begin with and got you kind of sucked into this, this world that you've been experiencing for decades at this point?
To be honest with you, classical music first. I had it's a silly story, but I had this orchestra teacher. She was younger, of course. She came into my class. It was sixth grade. She was probably only 23 years old, and with my little kid mind, I saw a blonde hair, blue-eyed woman, and I'm like, oh, who's this? I already had a crush on her in a second. And she took me into her class, and I picked up a violin. And what was really great about this teacher was she used to do what was called rock orchestra.
Hmm.
And she would take songs that we were listening to on the radio, or not even on the radio, like we were playing REM songs on the violin. We were playing, I remember playing Ozzy and Lita Ford's Close My Eyes Forever. We did a whole big piece for that for like a county fair. She really opened like the doors up for me. And the craziest thing, she's the one who got me into punk rock.
Hmm.
Her name's Susan Vixney, by the way. She My mother didn't have a car, single mother, didn't have, we lived in basically what you would call projects, you know. there was a program in my town, Lakewood. They had a summer orchestra. She actually turned around and said, "I will come and pick Michael up and drive him there." Like she literally would come every morning during the summer and pick me up, a couple other kids, and we would go there. But this one day, she had the Ramones on, and I'm like, "What the hell is this? What is this?" Because at this point, all the music I was hearing was Kiss, Guns N' Roses, very polished stuff. And if you're thinking about like the late '80s, everything was like hair metal, power ballads. Everything was so formulated. You're like, oh, I could never play this shit. What the hell is this? It looked, foreign to you. You couldn't imagine playing the guitar. And I'm sitting in her car, and all of a sudden I heard the Ramones, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? Like it grabbed me so fast. And she went and got me, oh my God, what was the live album? Oh my God. Not local live. No, it wasn't live. Ramones Mania, I think it was.
Oh, the
It was
big
like a big
boys.
compilation. And man, forget it. It was over.
Yeah.
It was over. And from there, it was like you're digging into magazines, looking at, oh, what band is that on his T-shirt? Who the hell is that? Like people don't realize then there was no internet, there was no nothing to get information. It was literally magazines, your older brother, your older brother's friends. But she introduced the world of punk to me. But the one who really slammed the door for me is my friend. His last name is a little funny, and we call him this. Craig Marijuana. He was like the older brother of the scene where I was hanging out as a kid. And he introduced me to the Misfits.
Mm.
And that was it. Because I was a kid who grew up on Kiss. And at that point, Kiss was, in the spandex and the pink, and it was really a terrible time to look at them. So it wasn't any more fun. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing these muscle bound, looking like Frankenstein, all kinds of shit. And I'm like, this can't be real. This is enormous. Um, he Same thing with the Sex Pistols. It was like he was like the type of friend that'd be like, here's this tape. Go home, listen to this. Here's Black Flag. Here's he started taking me to City Gardens in Trenton. And and seeing like the craziest shows you can think of. Like it's funny when I tell kids, "Oh yeah, I saw the Ramones." They look at me like I'm like the Crypt Keeper. I'm like, yeah, I got to see them. Luckily, I got to see the Mondo Bizarro tour.
Mm.
I saw 7 Seconds there. I saw Fugazi there. I saw the Fiends there the first time. Guys that I was on their label years later. They were opening for the Ramones. Uh, Endless shows. I can't even think. Like from the Lunatics, L7, man, so many good. Oh, Christ! I saw Faith No More there. I saw the Rollins band. Like, oh man, would I kill to be able to see this shit right now? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And especially the added bonus with City Gardens was you were literally entering the Thunderdome whenever you went to see a show there. It was like you had to go through Trenton, first of all, which is like,
And
so,
meanwhile, you're 15 years old. You shouldn't even freaking be over there.
yeah, yeah. But it's like some Mad Max post-apocalyptic nightmare just getting to the place. And then you get into the place and anything's gonna happen, it's like it's one of those places, but definitely a cool era. So I think we're pretty comparable in age, so I would imagine, if I were to guess, you started playing punk rock, doing the band thing by about 93.
No, a little before that.
Or that?
Like 91, I started dipping my toes in, still messing with like the whole metal stuff, still learning. But like by 92 is when I decided like I was playing in a cover band with my friends, and I'm like, not digging this crap. I'd rather write my own songs. And I formed a band, the beginning of a band called Suburban Derelicts. And a funny footnote in that band, actually, the guys that I started playing with was the lead guitar player of Shattered Realm, which is a very well known hardcore band. Because Joe Nunn lived in my neighborhood in Lakewood. He was the one who actually started teaching me how to play guitar, and then I played bass because I couldn't play guitar for shit back then. Um, a lot of my stuff came from that. I have to say, like the melting pot of that neighborhood is where it all came from. You know, hate to get off track. My brain's going like 100 miles an hour. I'm trying to like get all this information out. But I'm sorry. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Well, it's kind of your entry point, and you mentioned Suburban Derelicts, and if I recall, that band actually was involved with a very memorable event in New Jersey punk in the early 90s.
Oh yeah.
That would be the now legendary G.G. Allen show at the Fast Lane, right?
We didn't play the G.G. Allen show. We played with the Murder Junkies the year after Gigi died. It was with what the hell is his name?
Mike
The
denied.
singer. No, before Denied. This was the following year. I'm trying to remember Annie Scene, the singer from the Annie Scene.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
He was he was singing with them at that time. No, I missed out on that one at Fastlanes. No,
Okay.
we
I thought you had opened that show.
no, we did the show right at the prior to the year right after his death. It was like that summer right after because he died. What was it, June of '93 or something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
So that show was literally the following summer of '94.
Well, you were at the Fast Lane gig, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I was.
Because I remember reading the EC Rocker slash Aquarian review of that. And it just read like Sodom and Gomorrah had fucking crash landed in Jersey. Um,
And you know what? Gigi really didn't expose himself or go too crazy at that show, to be honest with you. I mean, you didn't want to go near him. We were all the way up in the rafters staying the hell away from him. But no, no, he wasn't really that bad. He really, a lot of, I don't know how to explain it. The intensity of the man kept you away. I mean, I knew better. I didn't want to get anything thrown at me. You learn prior not to go near him, but I think he had something worked out with the club where he actually behaved himself. I mean, they threw out the couch he sat on. I remember that. Like
yeah,
right after the show, they threw it the fuck out.
a wise choice, you know. But what's crazy about that, I was watching some videos of the Murder Junkies during that time, like, the last year of Gigi's life. Musically, that band was on fire. I mean, they
Oh,
were,
Weber was an awesome guitar player.
yeah,
God, he had a good lineup of musicians at that point. And it's a shame where he was unfortunately heading at that realm. But man, like you said, what a great backing band. And it's sad that that lineup couldn't stay together a hell of a lot longer than they did. And I think Weber still possibly records them. I'm not sure. Could have swore last time I saw Merle, we were talking, and his name came up, but I think he possibly still works with those guys.
yeah, that'd be cool. I know Weber, because he was in that band Chrome Cranks for a while. That was a New York band, kind of like an art noise rock thing, which was very New York at the time. Um, and the guy, one of the singer from Chrome Cranks, who's been on the podcast, Peter Aaron. Peter and Weber have a thing now they do. The name immediately escapes my memory, unfortunately, but if you watch that Peter Aaron podcast, the links are in there. And they're doing like this is like in the last year or two. And they were doing like real like if the White Stripes were better, you know, like that kind of vibe. Um,
Right, right. The garagey type of.
exactly, but more the real thing than the hipster thing, you know.
I got what you mean.
Very
Yeah.
fine line with that sound these days. You're either going to get like the real deal grungy guys or the Jagoffs, you know. So
Plenty of them.
yeah, no kidding.
Plenty of them.
So I mean, how long was Suburban Derelicts? What was the run of that band?
Band started. It was only little like 2 years, but we did so much in that little time. I mean, that's when like Jacko got a hold of us, and Jacko had us up and running, man. Jacko put us in so many great shows. He put us with the punk fests that used to always be at the Stone Pony were legendary back then. You know, we played with Red Alert, the Wretched Ones, Head Wound, every like headache record band you could imagine. Because we were like the little brothers to those guys. They treated us like you would be intimidated at first, but man, they all were really such nice guys, especially the Wretched Ones. They
Yeah,
used to call me the drummer's son because I looked like Mike, I think his name was back then.
yeah,
And I remember all them pulling me in the bar at the Pony, and they're like, "You sure this isn't your kid, man?" And I'm like, trying to like be cool and not be like, "Oh shucks" and bullshit like that. Because man, I love their fucking album, man. I knew every goddamn lyric
yeah.
to that first. Well, I guess probably to everybody else, they had the singles. The first time I got a hold of all their stuff is when they put it all on one CD finally.
Right, the first one. It was just called the Wretched Ones.
Yes. I mean, I knew that damn thing inside and out, man.
Yeah,
Another band that I really miss from that era, I'll see if you remember, Banner of Hope.
very much remember them. Very much miss them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great band, good people. Uh, you know, Rich was a great guy, finding out years later, it's sad what happened to him. And also, I mean, they had a lot of trauma in that band. I mean, like a lot of bad things happened. I think wasn't Matt the drummer?
yeah,
He also passed away, I think, in a motorcycle accident.
yeah, yeah. That's what I understand happened. Yeah, it was like with Matt. It was like he was there one week at the pipeline, and then
Right.
that's
Matt Herman, that was his name. Matt
Matt.
Herman.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I can't recall when he died, but I'm pretty damn sure we lost him during that pipeline era. Like the pipeline, I think was still around.
Pipeline was still running because at this point, this is like they got the girl. I don't know. I don't remember her name, but they got a female vocalist
Yeah, yeah,
because I was around when they had, I forget their first singer. I can't believe I forgot
yeah,
his name. He was a nice guy.
yeah. Neil, the original singer from
Neil.
yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yep, man. They were a great band. The Injections, they were another one of my favorites from back then. I mean, Pipeline, God, so much history there. So many great bands. Hard to even remember. But the Derelicts went on for 2 years, and it just got to a point with the drummer at the time. He was, yeah, kind of not to sound rude. He just started bringing elements into the band that I just didn't want to be near. That's the best way to put it with him. You know, kind of making things uncomfortable for like Headache Records wanted to put out a record of ours. And he showed up to the gig late and he was being a fucking douchebag. And right then and there, it was like done. Like all talks about doing a record for them was out the window. And
Mm.
the funny thing was, his uncle was actually one of the original guitar players for the Wretched Ones.
Hmm.
because I think they had like two guys at one point playing besides BT. There's
Yeah,
like one other gentleman.
yeah, they did on the first, at the very least, the first 7 inch, maybe the second.
Yeah,
Two. They were a five piece there.
Ed. The guy's name was Ed, what
Hmm.
I can remember. Yep.
Yes.
So his nephew is a jerk off that ruined that band. And I've floundering around for a little while. I started this band Indulge where I had a female singer, and the funny story with that was so when Banner Hope came down to play this show I called Boner Stock that I had literally booked in the middle of a trailer park because they had a hall and they were willing to give it to anybody. They saw us play and Neil, I guess, was on the way out and they kept talking, oh, it's great, you got a girl singer, and they turned around and I don't know, I don't remember what the girl's name was, but they actually told me that like the last time that I ran into all of them that was actually in Seaside Heights. They were like, yeah, we really dug what you were doing and Indulge. And, we tried to, I don't remember her name, but they picked up, I think her name was Erica. I'm sorry. That's right. Her name was Erica for Banner of Hope.
Yeah, because they actually had two female vocalists. They had her, who I think was on the Carry On Chaos EP, and then when they did the album, they had a different female singer, I believe. I
You're
mean,
probably right. I do kind of remember something changing there.
this was a long time ago, and I've got all the records behind me in boxes and stuff, so. But yeah, Banner of Hope. I'm happy that they came up. I did a three-part series with Emilio on this podcast from the Pipeline. I made sure Banner of Hope was mentioned there as well because what a band.
They
Uh,
were great. I mean, I was thanked on their first 7 inch. A lot of people were like, "Wow, you always booking this band." I'm like "Bullshit and Politics" was one of my favorite songs. I thought watching Rich play bass, he was very innovative. Like
mm,
they definitely had a very unique sound. Like the rhythm section was awesome in that band. And I can't remember who was playing. I know someone, the guitar player took over for Rich playing bass later on because Rich left.
right, John.
John, that's right, from the Me Mistreaters.
Yes, yes, yes. Uh,
Oh man.
yeah, that fucking band.
Yep. They're
Love them.
wild, man. They were a lot of fucking fun.
And they had that guy Saul on bass
Saw
who ended
from
up
Dehumanized.
Humanized, who were like the shit there for a while.
Dude, those fucking guys could play, man. I ran into Saul probably a few years ago at I forget what bar it was, of course, I'm not gonna remember. But he seems like he's still going and kicking. He was working with some of the guys from Lookout Records.
Hmm.
I think he was talking about what the hell is that band called? The Queers.
Oh, cool.
He said he was working with them. I mean, I don't hold me to it because like the conversation, because that's when I used to drink, so that could be a complete blurred, you
Look,
know.
we were all like that to some degree, and especially in the 90s. You remember those road trips?
uh
Oh, God.
Sorta.
Yes, sort of, because I was, not keeping things terribly linear, but at one point, obviously you and I crossed paths because your next band, The Despised,
Right.
we get into quite a bit, kind of became a brother band of the band I was playing at the time, which was Swiggy. So
Right.
when you guys would come up north to play, you'd stay probably at Don Pyatt's house, the guitar players. And
Yep.
when we came down to Jersey Shore, we'd crash somewhere, somebody's pad. So we were always kind of doing gigs together. And those nights after the shows were epic.
Oh,
It's a fucking miracle any of us have brain cells left at all after those.
well, some of us are lucky to still be alive.
Yeah, ain't that sure as shit. I mean, yeah.
I mean, the Despised, like talking about the Despised, that band was doing great. Black Pumpkin Records picked us up. They put us under distribution. We did our 7 inch. We got into doing the full length. And, like to get into my past problems, like, unfortunately I got into a substance that took me took me for a bad ride for a little while. And I'm sure you kind of remember where I kind of disappeared for a little bit. But that was like the biggest regret of my life was ever getting into that shit. Losing a lot of friends because of you're you got tunnel vision. You're only looking for the drug. You don't care about nothing but that grasp that it had on me. And there was a good time during, you being around me, I was using. Like I was fucking high out of my goddamn mind on, I'm not ashamed of heroin back then. And I'm not endorsing it by any fucking means, you know. I don't endorse anything. I don't even like seeing kids smoke fucking cigarettes anymore. Like it's just don't do it. Don't, you know. But, you know, it felt so good years later, and it was kind of weird to run into Ted at a Ranson concert in the middle of Philly. This had been like 2016.
Mm.
And we just started talking, and all of a sudden, like a couple years later, we went out and just started playing as the Despised again. Unfortunately, we were supposed to play actually the punk rock flea market on October 5th. We were booked, and Ted has some uh, family issues he has to take care of, personal stuff. So family first, and a little disappointed, but you know what? My friend's got to take care of what he's got to take care of. You
Yeah,
know, and
listen.
that's a good thing to say again, friend, because I let down a lot of people during my addiction period. You know, and the one thing that I was glad is to have that upswing of correcting things. You know,
Yeah, it's great you had the opportunity and you survived to have that opportunity. A lot of cats didn't, you know. I
and I
look
say it all the time. I
I
shouldn't be here.
I look back at those days, like those 90s days. It's like mile markers, you just see like when you're driving down the highway and you're seeing the crosses on the side of the road. That's what it reminds me of thinking about that.
Right,
Because there's so many fucking people who just didn't make it through. And like just, like, obviously, BT, we lost him last year, so,
right,
I mean, certain people are of an age now where, unfortunately, health becomes problematic for a lot of people. But to the greater point, we had young people who checked out, you know,
real quick.
real quick. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I can't even imagine what they deal with now, and nor would I want to. You know,
Yeah.
the younger scene seems a lot smarter. I hate to say this than we were. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I just felt like that rebellion in us was much more fire than what I see now. I see a lot of this, a lot of talking, but I don't see the passion, the actual. I don't know how to explain it, man. I mean, I guess Generation X. I mean, you know, it's different. It's definitely a different time now.
Well, I hate to be the angry guy yelling at a cloud, and I don't want to, I'm not saying this in a negative way, but
Right,
I think one of the biggest changes between, then and now is it is easier now to get it to happen because of all this, you know,
right,
the days of organically like putting up flyers on telephone poles or um, networking. Like we didn't have the internet. We found you somehow. How did that happen? Because we're out, we're playing, Armin's putting out records, Black Pumpkin's putting out records, and all those records are being distributed all over the place and all over New Jersey. So we're learning about these bands. The Pipeline was kind of central base for everybody.
Yes.
That was
Yes, it
like
was.
that was like the neutral territory. Like everybody kind of congregated at the Pipeline. And rest in peace, Anthony Trance. He was responsible for a lot of that because he was booking the shows at the time. So you guys would end up on bills with us, and then, we probably would play the
I
pipe.
think the first time me and you crossed paths, it was Blaze from Blind Society. But
Yes.
he wasn't even Blind Society yet. He was helping the Despise out. He was the reason why we even got signed by Black Pumpkin to get our distribution deal was because he was shopped us to them. Um, he booked you guys and us over at the Pony. It was like the Stone Pony. Remember we used to do the matinees there? Sometimes it would be like because I can even remember the squiggy shirt you gave me was the one with the Godzilla on it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's how far back.
Yeah, that would have been like 97.
97.
97 was kind of when I was in Squiggy, 97 was kind of the banner year for that band because we put out our first Headache 7-inch.
Right.
And the fucking scene exploded. Like I've mentioned many times on this podcast with other guests, where 97, 98, the weekend rolls around, and from where we were in Sussex County down to where you were, like that area, there was like half a dozen shows
Right.
from
The Cove. You remember the Cove?
up Jane Jubilee. Sure do.
Fucking rocking place, man. Like, that place was awesome too. That was like you know, another place that it was just as important as the Pipeline
Yeah,
because I met so many different people there.
the Cove was,
And like you said, there was no internet. There was none of that bullshit. You had to actually talk.
and the Cove, if I remember correctly, was an all ages place.
Yes.
So, I know at that time a lot of our crowds were younger people because there were a lot of all ages shows, one of which being the Cove. And also in a lot of instances, like, bands would meet at the Pipeline because we would play on the same bills. And then it would become, oh, where do you book shows when you're not playing the Pipeline? Oh, we book shows in whatever.
Newton.
Newton. Yeah. Or, even a little bit earlier than that when I was doing the Franklin Legion Hall.
Oh,
Which is kind of how Blaze got into the picture. Now I remember it because Blaze was a big Misfits guy in the
oh yeah.
day. And he reached out
Huge.
to, because I was doing stuff with Jerry and Doyle at the time. That's what it was. And then he was saying, oh, I book shows and, you know, um, and then yeah, he booked Squiggy, and that's how that whole thing started. And then his band,
Funny story. I think I ran into you. Actually, I forgot to mention this to you. You you were jamming with Jerry and Doyle.
mhm,
This uh this had to be like, let's see if I'm right, around 95.
yeah,
Okay, because Jerry, I was writing letters to Jerry because I got a hold of the whole Doyle fan club. And everybody said, if you write to him, he'll write back, send you posters. And it was like fucking Christmas because the mail would come and there's like tubes and tubes of shit. And you're like, where the fuck is this coming from? Anyway, long story short, I guess at this point he was just getting the rights back and he invited a group of us to come up there and hang out as people who were auditioning.
mhm,
And the one singer auditioned and Sal Bean.
yep,
I remember him auditioning. And I remember a kid with glasses, and I think your hair was blue or some shit.
yeah,
You
bluish,
weren't you played a little on the drums with them, you did a few songs with them, and all of a sudden Chud showed up and he had like long hair.
yep,
Dude,
yep,
that's I forgot to always mention that to you. That I
yeah.
was like, holy shit.
If Doyle was there, it was definitely like a Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah, because I would jam with just Jerry during the week. How that whole thing happened was Chud was already more or less in the band, but he was a sound engineer too. So they wanted to get like a decent recording of those vocal auditions, and
Right.
Bilbo had an 8 track, and he was kind of fucking around with that. So because he was doing that stuff, they needed someone to just kind of keep the beat going, vocal auditions. So I got sucked into that. That's how that happened. So um, I did that.
So terrible for a kid.
What I didn't hear you. What's that?
I said that was so terrible for a kid. Probably made your day.
Well, it was a trip because that drum set was like towering over me. You remember?
Yeah, dude. I remember when they pulled out. Jerry was showing us, oh, we got spikes for the fucking drum kit, and it was those huge fucking like pyramid things. They were heavy as hell. I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna mount that on a drum set? Well, they did.
Yeah, I mean, obviously working at a machine shop helped with getting all that spike stuff because everything had spikes. Their cars had spikes. Like the front of Doyle's truck had spikes on it. I'm like, if you ever go through the windshield, man, you're fucked because it's just a row of spikes. I'm thinking, how did this guy pass DMV? You know, um, everything had a spike on it, every fucking thing. And the drum set was ridiculous. I found out years later that snare drum, that was the Earth AD snare drum.
That was Robos?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Is what
wow.
not many people know this, but when that whole like lawsuit was happening with Danzig,
Right.
these guys got the rights back. Initially, they had Robo drums for that, and whatever happens in the Misfits, obviously, there's always something. So I don't know what happened, but suddenly it wasn't Robo anymore. Um, and then Robo kind of like that drum set was kind of like spare parts. And
Right.
they had that drum set with Robo. They had it with Chud, obviously. I don't. I asked Chud when he was on the podcast where it ended up. It's with Jerry somewhere. But that drum set was like the staple of the rehearsals back then. It's like aircraft carrier looking thing.
I mean, that room was hilarious, man. What I remember, it was like
All the pinups.
all the pinups and all the fucking weights everywhere. And I remember Chud's playing, like they're making him play like a madman, and then all of a sudden they're like benching.
Yes.
Like, and I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? Like, the funny story behind going to meet them, I have to keep dragging this out. I remember the night before we were partying, of course, like dumbasses. And we took acid and we tripped through the whole night, so we didn't sleep. And we were smoking grass all the way up to the fucking to the factory. And I remember we were all waiting for Jerry to walk out. Now, mind you, we didn't know what Jerry looked like. So we're just like all pressed up against the window like a bunch of little kids, and we're like getting ready to see like what we wanted to see. And all of a sudden this dude comes out in sweatpants,
Hmm.
glasses. We're like, what the fuck's going on? Like, you as a kid you wanted the creature to walk out or something, you know what I mean? Like the character. But man, other than the way he looked, I gotta say one thing. That guy, so generous, so nice. So, and even when they played, I don't know if you were at that gig. You probably were when they played the Stone Pony for the first time,
Absolutely. Yep.
which was fucking, I'm not a, I, I gotta say one thing, that show, and I saw them a few times with Graves after that, but that show,
Mhm.
I would say was their best. Vocally, for even Mike, it was just like, holy shit. Because just recently it came up on YouTube, the actual whole show.
Hmm.
I put it on, because, I wanted to try to see if I could see my 18-year-old self in the crowd. And I was like so blown away, like, wow, his vocals sounded so fucking great at this show. Like the band was so sick and tight. And then I saw them play in Philly, and I guess he started changing his vocal patterns a little. And then I was like, man, I was being a dick too. I won't talk bad about that guy. He has enough issues. I'm not going to get on that train. But it just to like go by the performance, it was incredible, man. Just incredible.
Yeah, that was it was because that was like the first Jersey thing, you know?
Yeah, because I just moved back from Seattle, and I was out. And the funny thing was, when I was out there, I was fucking talking to Chuck Biscuits.
Hmm.
That was right before he fucking joined Social Distortion. There was a newspaper out there. It was like an aquarium. He had an ad out there, ex drummer of Circle Jerks, dancing, all this. So I'm a little kid. I said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna call and just show up." Awesome dude, real nice, And so I was out in Seattle for close to a year. I moved back, and my buddy Eggy's like, "I got you tickets to see the Misfits." I'm like, "Shut the fuck up, the Misfits. Since when?" Because I didn't even know what was going on. Like, we heard through the great, people like, "Yeah, they're getting back together." I'm like, "No, get out of here." Because how many times did you hear that shit? There it was, dude. A week me being home back in Jersey, I'm at the Pony, like losing my mind to every song that I only got to hear on a tape.
Oh yeah. And the opening acts that night were Salby, Sardonica, and
Sardonica in
both,
both worlds.
both worlds, John Joseph and the Leeway guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't even know he was with the Leeway guys on that. That's another small world. Played a few shows with, actually played a show with Leeway it was last year at Gold Sounds in Brooklyn.
Mm,
And this is right before I can't, before he passed and everything.
right.
Still put on a hell of a show.
Dude, I
I
think that
don't know how Eddie did it, dude. As sick as he was, he still put on a hell of a fucking show, man.
yeah, he was rough towards the end. I remember I saw a clip of Leeway. No, it was shortly before he checked out and he couldn't do it anymore and he passed eventually. But I'm watching, I'm like, this dude sounds like Eddie, but it's not Eddie. And it took me like three songs to realize I'm like, fuck, that is Eddie. You know,
Yes.
it changed so much, you know. When that band was rolling, I saw them as CBs a little later. There was I had moved to LA for a few years, came back to Jersey. It was that month, like February of 2006. So it was later, you know. And the Bad Brains had reformed with John Joseph singing. And
Oh yeah, I
we
remember
did
that.
two shows, and Leeway, I think, played both nights. I think I got into the first show. Bobby Steele got me into CB's because it sold out in like a millisecond. Bobby's like, if you want to go, just follow me in there and I'll and you can stay. I'm like, okay. So that's how I did it. But Leeway had reformed the Desperate Measures lineup, which is the second album. So they had Pokey, and Jimmy the Pool in that lineup. Dude, best band I ever saw was CBGB's. And I saw a lot of bands of CBGB's.
I saw them. I played with them actually. I was in a short-lived band called Past Wreckage, and we played with them in Asbury at Club Deep in it was '05 or '06. And if that's the same lineup you're talking about, it was fucking insane
Yeah.
because they were incredible. They were incredible, man.
Yeah.
God, how much I could sit here and talk to you all day, man. I'm telling you, because just naming off stuff, my brain's firing off like all this crap, and I'm like trying to keep it into one.
It's a lot, man, because so much was happening in those days. And then he had the whole sort of national connection too through Maximum Rock and Roll. They were reviewing our records and records were getting sold in Europe. Our fucking records that we did in Jersey were out in Europe somehow. It was a cool time because again, we didn't have any of this. You know,
No,
there was guys in their basement like Armin making it happen. Doug from Swiggy had his record store. So of
you
course he knew all the distributors, right? So our shit was getting
guys did Squid Tone, didn't you?
uh,
Squid Tone.
yeah, that was Doug. That was Doug's thing. So he put out a few records. We also had records on Headache. So we were just pumping out records every couple months, different 7 inches. And we did the split singles with like the
Right.
ultralights and shit. So, I mean, Doug, I will say, was very, very focused on making those connections sort of click. So it was a lot happening in like basically an 18-month period. Like you guys got rolling, we got rolling. Black Pumpkin became less of like the Fiends thing that they put their name on. They put the Black Pumpkin.
That
It
label turned into a fucking monster at one
became a
point.
label, and they had that Big Blue Meanie studio place as well.
That
So,
place ruled, man.
you
That
know,
place was great.
yeah. And then he had people like Billy Milano entering the mix because he was tied in with the Black Pumpkin thing and the Big Blue Meanie. He brought Agnostic Front down there to record. So suddenly you got like Billy Milano's doing shit. Like all this stuff is blossoming. Like I said, within like 18 months, everything just went from like
Yeah, Otis on that label. Yeah, Demon Speed.
human speed.
God, it was just like you said. It was like a pluff. Like an you said it the best way. It was like an explosion because it was like now thinking about '97. Like all these records. Yeah, Kringle. You remember those guys, Kringle?
Sure, I still have that record here.
Yeah, Oh God. I don't know if you were at that show. I remember the meme treaters were laughing their ass off and they didn't warn me. But John Kringle, the bass player, I always feel bad about this. And I'm not bragging about this, but Augie, I guess, got too rough dancing by the mother. Yeah, I don't know if you remember Dan Kringle's mom would always be fucking like out trying to dance in the pit with everybody. So Augie, I guess, had a few drinks in him or something, and I turn around and I see Augie getting choked by this man.
Mm,
And mind you, at this point, I'm like, this is when I got heavier, so I'm probably about like, oh God, like 230 pounds or more. And I fucking grabbed this dude, and I picked him up literally, and his knees was on my chest, and I just threw him right through the fucking drum set. Turned out to be Dan Kringle's dad.
mm.
And it's just, oh my God. So much crazy shit. I think that was at some hall in fucking Newark. You guys were there. You guys were there. I can't remember the name of the hall though.
Somewhere here I have a Mead notebook where I list every show we played when I was in Swiggy, every show we did, who we
Right.
played with in the venue. It's somewhere here. I should have grabbed it actually, but it would be like a scavenger hunt trying to find it here. But yeah, I mean, we played with Despised New Jersey. Gosh, I don't know, 15 times, maybe more. I mean, we were
Okay.
always playing shows together back then. And like the Blanks and the Casualties, and Banner of
Yeah.
Hope, as you mentioned. And I want to bring up something because, and you may need to fill my memory holes with this because my first time ever playing in the Undead, how I got in the Undead was because of one of your shows. You would put on one of those, it was a Bonner stock? Is that, am I pronouncing
Bonus.
owner stock? Okay, but with two N's, if I recall.
Yeah, well, that could show you how our spelling was back then too.
And you did one in early '98. I ended up playing in three bands that day because I also joined Broken Heroes at that point, the first time.
That's right.
So I'm already in Broken Heroes and Squiggy. You put on that show February of '98-ish. And I believe
Yeah, it was in Seaside at the VFW.
yes, and I believe it was a benefit of some kind. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, it was from actually from my mother's business for the restaurant she had because we were hitting a pretty bad low.
Yeah. Yeah. And Bobby agreed to play and Bobby, drum roll, spoiler alert, didn't have a band.
No.
So I had known Bobby at that point. I don't know if he asked me or if I just said, I'm already going to be there playing in two other fucking bands. I'll play in your band too. And Anthony Janos, the late Greasy Tony for Broken Heroes, played bass that day.
Right.
And we did six songs, three Misfits songs, three Undead songs, and never played together until that day. No rehearsal. I think we rehearsed as people were walking into the place.
You guys were rehearsing as we had you guys come in early before anybody even got there, and you guys started just working it out as quick as possible, what I remember.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And
The whole crazy conversation with Bobby was like, "Oh, I'll come and do an appearance," and I'm like, "Bobby, that's not really gonna cut it." He's like, "Well, I don't have a band, and do you know anybody that will play?" I'm like, I think I was talking to you about, or he already got to speaking to you, but it was funny, man.
yeah,
Definitely.
I don't know the specific way I ended up doing that, but that happened. And that led to 10 on and off years playing in the Undead, you know. But it started at that show. Bobby realized I knew I could do a full set if needed. And a couple months later, he's like, "Hey man, I just booked some shows in the area, but I'm like, and you need a band, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, well, I'll do it." And then I had my college buddy Ronnie from the Pillage People, who played with Augie.
Right,
Ronnie was the bass player for about a year and a half, and then the first break I took was Bobby wanted to tour, and I didn't want to tour because I had other shit going on. And
right.
I, with all love and respect to Bobby Steele, I didn't want to end up in Omaha fucked because Bobby like had a meltdown or got into a fight with somebody, and we didn't get paid that night because he pissed somebody off. I didn't want to deal with that. So he got the guys from the Independents. Remember them?
Oh, sure, man. Great band.
Yeah, he got those guys to back him up, and they had a really like decent run. And then I would come back every couple of years. He'd
You
call.
know that the Fiends, the guy, and here's another funny, like, again, weird thing is the first time I was at the Fiends office for Black Pumpkin, I was looking at, I forget the singer's name. I can't believe I always forget his name.
Very.
What, Jerry? I was looking at his CDs on the desk and I saw Live Slayer from the Undead. And that was like my one of my like I loved that tape, man. I remember the sound was excellent. He turned around and go, "Oh, I like this a lot. That was like this album." He goes, "Yeah, we're the band on there." They were the backing band for that album, for that tour. But again, I ain't saying nothing bad about Bobby. That's already not known. But apparently like you said, those poor guys were out in the middle of Detroit or somewhere really fucking bad. Something happened and they ended up sleeping inside of a fucking abandoned church and Bobby left them.
Hmm.
Went in a station wagon and just out the door. I've worked with Bobby actually. I felt like I pulled him out of retirement at one point. I got in touch with him around 2015. And I was just, keeping tabs on him online. I'm like, is this dude doing anything? Like, what's going on with him? And I did a fundraiser for Camp Moore, which is a camp for handicapped children where it's, there's a medical staff. This is for, severely handicapped kids, but they can go enjoy summer camp, go swimming. Everything is, equipped for their needs. So make a long story short, I'm sitting there at the Elks and I'm like, fuck it, let me try to get the undead. Let me see if Bobby will come out and do it. And he came out and did it, and I met his wife,
Hmm.
and he was definitely a different person than the Bobby we knew in the '90s. You know what I mean? He seemed happier, calmer. He still has his thing about money, but whatever. Business is business. I get it. I
Hmm.
get it. But we did a lot of shows. He loved my band at the time after the burn. And funniest shit was he books us for a gig, and I'm all stoned. I show up and I walk in, and it's a church, man. And I mean a church with a big cross. And I'm like, holy fuck, what the hell did you, where am I, man? Like, I'm going to set on fire in this joint. Like, I guess he found religion. But again, like, I ain't putting that down. I mean, as people get older, I guess it kind of, I've known plenty of people that have gone that route. But I did a lot of shows with Bobby, did a few toy drives with us, and it just got to be too expensive at one point, right? I just, I never wanted to say, like, listen, in, there's not enough crowd. I can't afford it. That's the best way to put it nicely.
Yeah.
You know? And, I still, online, hey, how are you? Nothing, nothing bad, but I think he understood that it's just like, dude, I can't afford you, man. Like, I got him. I booked him in Atlantic City. I booked him at the Brighton bar. I don't think he ever played the Brighton until I got him in there. Um, God, so many freaking gigs. I mean, we played with him up at that park in New York. He got us in there.
Mhm.
I mean, like we were doing a nice run with them, but then again, when it comes down to money and business is business.
Mm. Right. Right. I know that business is business element of that band very
Yes.
well. And we can go off and do a 6 hour podcast. Easy, easy.
Oh, we got to stir this up.
But that said, I do want to hit a couple points. One being early 2000s was when I started making my way out west to LA. So there was a window there where I was out in LA and I wasn't on social media because there wasn't social media at that point. So there's a good probably 6, 7 years where I wasn't really clued in with what was happening with the bands that we would play with in the 90s. I'd come back for vacation, inevitably Broken Heroes was playing somewhere, and I'd see them. But beyond that, I didn't know what was going on with you guys. But I do know at some point, obviously, the Despised at that point in time ground to a halt, and that would have been probably early 2000s, right?
No, actually, it grounded to a halt probably 99,
Hmm.
right? It's the prediction of the album as the joke of the album. I was supposed to be dead in 99.
Hmm. Right.
And it did go to a halt because of my addiction. And what happened was Ted did try to play with, I think, Jeff from Void Control. Like they did a few shows, and I guess it didn't take. I don't know if people didn't go for it. I guess it just didn't take. Because at that point, for me, I was so hard in my addiction. Lost a little time in my life where I had to go somewhere and stay somewhere for a while. Again, not bragging about bullshit like that. And when I came out of it, I was I played for a short period of time in a band called Plan Collapsed, and they became like a big C squat band. They, with all those fucking, I don't even like that band. I forget Leftover Crack and all those people. They were involved in that. Yeah, exactly. My sentiments exactly at those douchebags. And I was playing with them, but I was still like on medication, getting off the fucking drugs. And you know, let's just say in all honesty, I honestly woke back up as Mike again in 2004. I started a band called Ash Monday. That band really like brought life back into me to the point of like it felt like where I left off. Like there was like 10 years later, this plethora of all these kids that were like dying for punk. And again, I had a female singer, and at that time, we were unique for the simple fact that this girl Angel had the voice of like the fucking devil. Like a lot of the female singers you're seeing now, that really hard, heavy, throaty, like even Cookie Monster, like beyond, she would hit low notes that I can't even go near. And I'm a man. I can't even get my voice as low as she did. Incredible, incredible singer. I found her on a boombox tape.
Mm.
Uh, like I started, let me rewind. I started doing this band called the Hillside Stranglers just to get my feet wet again because gotta remember it was like a couple of years. My head's clearing from the drugs. My daughter was just born, so I was straightening out. I was working, staying away from people. I started this band, the Hillside Stranglers. Wasn't really going anywhere. The drummer moved. The other bass player, he's a jerk off. He got knocked out, literally knocked out. And we started Ash Monday. And Ash Monday, I mean, it's a band that should, like, I had recordings that shouldn't have been put on vinyl.
Mm.
Like, it was like a lost band that if you listen to this band, your jaw would have dropped. The drummer was fucking insane. Like one of these machines. Like just such a well put together band. We played we played with Jerry's Misfits, like we played at the Starland Ballroom a few times. We started playing like bigger, well known shows. Like that lasted from '04 to about 2010. Angel left the band. We had another singer, Mike. And again, we were still doing like playing with headliners. We were killing it, doing great. Band lived its life. That went off. And, here I am again. I got to start over again. Kind of like what Ash Monday was kind of a metallic and also like power violence and a lot of elements of grindcore. It was a melting pot of everything. So the next band I started was Otis's Gun Stash, and I loved. Of course, I'm a Misfits fan, and we've already been talking about it for most of the interview. But fucking, I started a band called Otis's Gun Stash, and that band was all based on the Devil's Rejects.
Mm.
So the whole mythal of that band is like all our songs had to do with Rugsville. Everything had to do with the movie. Like it was really well put together. That lived for a while. Unfortunately, drugs, ego, ex-girlfriends, Yoko's,
Mm.
destroyed that fucking band. And I gotta say, it wasn't drugs with me or Yoko's. I was just a guy standing going, what the fuck? And I started After the Burn. And a lot of people were really surprised by that band because if you ever go listen to it, it's more on a pop element.
Mm.
It's more like your rock and roll punk, but it's very popish, very polished. And that band went on for 8 years to, again, like we were playing like places that I would never thought in my life I'd be playing casinos with acts like POD who fucking hated our guts and fuck those guys and fuck that music anyway. They were corny assholes. Fuck them. Uh, they were so rude, man. I'll never forget the stage manager. We're up there, and he's like, "You guys were fucking great." And then he's looking at them. He goes, "There's two things happening right now. One of you guys are on the way up. And one of you guys are on the way down." He goes, "You're not the ones going down." And he looked it over at POD. He goes, "Look at this audience." He goes, "They're not drawing shit." And they were demanding every fucking thing. And they were just, I don't know, man. If they're supposed to be Christian, they were really far from it. I remember they came into the hallway as we were getting off the stage. They're like, "Hey, have a good show." And like, we went to like shake hands with them. They wouldn't even come near us. I was like, what the fuck is that all about?
Mm.
Um, After the Burn got a lot of airplay from the local radio stations. And again, that band was doing great. Um, Went through a lot of member changes. Me and the singer stuck it out through the whole thing. And again, you know, I love him to death, but once you start mixing politics too much out there, you're going to turn people off.
Hmm.
And it went from my phone wouldn't stop ringing for gigs to all of a sudden dead silence. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? And, long story short, I looked into it and, he's doing his thing about, I'm not going to get into the politics that he was running his mouth about getting into. And it turned off our audience and it just fucking stuck a knife in us
Yeah.
to the point no one gave a fuck. No one wanted to book us. And I'm like, dude, 8 years, like actual radio play, actual like paying gigs. Like we're playing, places that I thought I would never play to, oh, chirp, chirp, chirp. Here's the fucking crickets again. So again, uh, COVID hits, and my friend Natal, he's the singer of Kirby Kiss. He gets in touch with me with a what I call the band of misfits. Now, all the guys in this band were all in several other acts, what I would call lifers, like real lifers. They kept playing. He got in touch with me. We started writing, and we just started clicking and clicking and clicking. Like all of a sudden, we got Council Records in Chicago interested in us, and they started. Our other guitar player, Shep, was the one who opened up the door for that and started doing business and talking to them. And before you know it, like, oh, do you guys, we're putting out a fucking 12-inch. I'm like, wow, okay. And they're paying for it. Hell froze over.
Mm.
I never thought I would see that, at my late 40s at this point. We done a few 7 inches for them. Right now, the record we just put out, not to brag, it's fucking incredible. And I'll say it. It's probably the best work I've ever put out within a band. Uh, it's not like, like you listen to certain albums, and so far what I've been hearing around is like, no, I'm not skipping the tracks.
Mm.
And I don't know if you remember Sammy. Remember Big Sam that used to come out to the show?
Yep.
Sammy will tell you flat out that fucking sucks. He has no heart when it comes to telling you the truth. Sammy's like, yo, Mike, I couldn't even skip anything. For me, I was like, wow, Sammy's always been the gauge for me of honesty. So, um, crazy thing about that record is, did you know Jeff Janik? Did you know JJ? He was in Dead
Oh
Heroes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's in discharge now, of course.
Yeah, I grew up with him.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, I played in a band with him in high school called Chaotic Discharge.
Mm.
Funny enough, that was his first band, and I came and played for a few months. So did my singer Natal in Kirby Kiss, and he's known Natal since they were like 5 or 6 years old. I've known Jeff since like 13, 14. And it took us to our almost 50 to fucking finally get on a record together. But it was such a I don't know how to say it. When like everything that everything comes full circle. This is a big fucking circle, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I'm
The
glad
world gets smaller and smaller.
glad you mentioned JJ, man. Good for him doing the discharge gig, you know?
Dude, he's awesome. He's doing awesome. He also has I don't know if you're familiar with his other band, False Fed.
Yes. Yes.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. His also his I hate to say I can't remember the guy's name to give him credit. He did keys on the song also with us with Jeff. Are You Deaf? I think it's no, not Are You Deaf? Are You Hear Me Clearly? Oh God, see, I'm tired. I'm so terrible with my own titles. Give me a second so I don't get yelled at later on. Let me grab this record because everybody be like, "You're a prick. You can't even remember anything."
You gotta remember your own shit.
Well, hey, talking about me. We were just discussing how we made it through the 90s, okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear
And I
that.
did skip over a few bands that I've been in that definitely erased a lot of my memory.
Yeah.
Where's it? Here we go. Let's see my old man glasses here. All right. Am I seeing this clearly? Is the track we do with Jeff.
Hmm.
That's definitely one you should queue up and take a listen to, man. It's such a cool song. It's just how much the subtleties of the keys that are added into it. It's not like an overproduced. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just a good melting pot.
Yeah, that's excellent, man. Somewhere, I think on my old laptop, which I still have somewhere here, a backstage photo exists of Broken Heroes and Dead Heroes. I think playing Allentown or some shit. And let's just say I can't describe the photo, but if I find it, I'll send it to you because it's classic. But I'll get canceled if I, you know,
Gotcha.
talk about this photo. But it's a classic photo with JJ, myself, a couple young ladies. It's a classic image. But like I said, I gotta, you know, I don't shy away from much, but these days, man, you know,
Yeah, you
that
don't got me. You say
eh,
one thing, you'll end up like that baseball lady.
which one?
Oh, the one that went and stole the foul ball from the father and son at
Oh,
the Phillies game.
yeah. I was talking
Really?
talking to somebody who has been mentioned in this greater conversation. I won't bring it up here. But he was remarking about how like things are so different these days. Like, he said, thank God there weren't cell phones in the 90s. Thank God, like the culture was a little bit different than it is now. Let's put it that way.
We'd all be locked up multiple times.
But
Even when I think about what you got away with in high school back then, now it's like they got cameras on them, dogs, all kinds of shit.
yeah. I was watching a news report. It talked about, I forgot what the crime was, but the guy was charged with a pretty heinous crime. It was like a headline making crime. But what stood out to me was the prosecutors were doing like a press conference, and they said the perpetrator entered this county at 12:46 a.m. and then he went to this county at 1:47, and I'm like, how the fuck did they know that? Like it sounded very thorough and very official, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, how do they know what time your car is entering a county?
Oh man, you got all those lights everywhere, your cell phone, cameras.
Oh yeah, nothing is sacred anymore. So
Big
we,
brother watching 24/7.
I mean, luckily we're at the age now where we just by our very nature will behave. But, different time, man. Different time for sure. I'm glad I got through it. I'm glad we're both still breathing and upright uh in 2025, man, because we shouldn't be.
No, we shouldn't be seeing the light of day either.
Yeah.
But we,
Before we wrap up, I did want to talk about the fact that you're still promoting shows, which is
yes,
because you're a good 30 years into this. You have Poor Man, New Jersey, which
yes,
I see everywhere online, which is why I reached out to you because you messaged me things going on. I'm like, just come on the podcast, you know, because there's so much that you're pumping out. So tell me a little bit about Poor Man, where you're booking, who you're booking, how people can get in touch with you, and all that fun.
sure. Um, I'm booking right now. I started booking at Wild Air Beer Works in Asbury Park.
Mhm.
I partnered up with Ed Advice Booking. He runs mainly that place. We're starting to do. He came to me and he mentioned I want to do punk Sunday punk rock matinees, and I'm like, wow, definitely.
Mm.
And please let me in. And like our first show that we're going to be doing together will be September 21st. Fear Gods. I'm sure you've heard of those
Oh yeah,
guys.
those guys have been on. Yeah.
They're going to be playing W70, Fat Bangs, and also I can't believe I'm blanking out, and someone's going to get pissed at me. Oh, and Break Luck is going to be opening. That's going to be September 21st. Um, Another cool gig right after, and you were talking about Broken Heroes. I mean, Dead Heroes and Broken Heroes. Holy shit. I booked Rip the Band,
Hmm. Timmy.
which is Timmy from Broken Heroes and Blank 77. A couple of, I think one of the ladies from the Drugettes, the lead singer.
Mm. Right on.
Uh, a Service Animal is a band that's also playing on that bill, and that's Johnny G from Dead Heroes, the guitar player. Also has the OC Rippers. He's also in Scrapyard. Fucking awesome bands. Look them up. Trust me, look them up. OC Rippers to me is so Stooges, so fucking rock and roll. One of my favorites. And Service Animal now is really growing on me. Um, the Spiky Tops are also playing, which is Renee's band from Blank 77, playing with Andrew, who runs Pogo City Radio, and his wife. And that's October 12th at the Beer Works in Asbury. Um, I also book hardcore shows at Jimmy's in Kearney.
Hmm.
We're going to be doing a show there with the Nile and some other younger bands. The hardcore scene right now, I'm working with a young guy named Mark. He does a production you should look into. It's called Ghost Boy Productions. He's very much into the more of the newer metal and hardcore bands, but this kid's got a good head on his shoulders. He's one of us. You
Hmm.
could say that he's not a racist, he's not a jerk off, which we don't need to get into that. But I'm trying to think of where else. So I book at Jimmy's in Kearney. That will be September 27th. Then I'm doing Hardcore Halloween with Concrete Ties headlining over at Dingbats.
Oh, nice.
Now, my friend Glenn got me through the door there to start booking over there. And we were talking about Zing before, but Steve Zing runs sound there sometimes. He's like their main sound guy. I booked actually Morning Noise last year at Salty's with the Despised.
Mm.
And we did our 28th year reunion. Um, we're working right now, poor man. We're working on another compilation CD. I This will be my second one, and basically, like I wish I had a list of all the bands, but Joel, I always look for the younger bands. I always look for the guys that are coming in. I do work with some of the older bands, but in all honesty, right now, and I'm not trying to sound like an old man at my age, but I always believe that there's so long that we can be on the stage where I feel like I'm not a buffoon,
Right.
you know, but I still want to be in the ring fighting still. So I figured, with poor man, trying to give all the opportunities that like Jacko gave me. Because I tell you right now, I still live by that man's motto. Everybody deserves a place to work.
Yes.
Everybody deserves a place to play. And he used to always tell me that shit as a kid. Even the way I run shows are still like Jack. You got 15 minutes to change in between bands. Don't fucking bullshit. Don't drag your ass. Don't be. doing your cables. Fucking move. Get the next band on. Show respect. Don't walk out on the band. Don't think, oh, can we get paid now? We just played and we're gonna leave.
Didn't Jack, didn't he have that rule like if you're playing with like three bands on the bill, you couldn't move your shit out until the show was over? Am I
That's
remembering
right.
that right? Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. You couldn't fuck off after a gig. You had to stay there and support, which is important.
Dude, I'm telling you, still to this day. And that's why when I saw that you did the podcast one, I was like, the perfect person to fucking do it with, man. But I give all credit to Jack why I do Poor Man, New Jersey. I mean, just listen to the name, Poor Man, New Jersey. I mean, it's, an ode to him.
Yeah.
Because, I don't make a dime, dude. I don't make shit. If you make a few bucks for gas and you get dinner, oh, that's great. But if the bands are getting paid, I'm fucking happy. If the venue is making its money so they're not bitching off, I'm happy. But the main places that I book at is Dingbats, the Beer Works in Asbury right now, and Jimmy's in Kearney. And also the Log Cabin in Tom's River. I've been doing a toy drive, Christmas toy drive now for over 25 years, which is now coming up to its last year because, unfortunately, I spoke to the woman who runs this organization, this cabin community center, and the neighborhood's changing, and they're being basically pushed out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's the nicest way to say it. You
Right.
know, and money prevails.
Yeah. Same old fucking story, man. That's what happens to a lot of cool scenes. When I came back to Jersey in '06, I saw that happening. You know,
Oh, God. Oh,
everything.
I mean, yeah. I mean, how many times have you turned around? You're like, shit, this is closed. That's gone. And then it's like I started telling other promoters that are getting into the game, and some of them get aggravated with me. I'm like, do not ever think that anything's forever.
Yeah.
I go, once you get over the fact that that place is going to close, then you're going to be able to continuously do what you're doing. You just got to get up and go to the next spot. When Bryant Bar closed, my heart fucking broke. Broke. But what am I going to do? If I'm going to continuously do what I like doing, I got to get up and find another home, find another spot, move the circus somewhere else.
Yeah. That's what it is, man. It's I like looking back at these conversations I've had on this podcast, particularly with the Jersey people. I have a lot of other guests on the show, but I really like doing the Jersey conversations. Not only does it commemorate people like Jack, Brighton Bar, Pipeline, Anthony Trance, all the shit you guys were doing back in back down south back then. But what's really cool to me, um, with very few exceptions, everybody's doing stuff now. You mentioned Fear Gods. Fucking Jack Steeples and Paul Richards have been at this 45 years. They're still doing it. Um,
Damn.
they're not just, I mean, they do the AOD things, but they're not like living on, like, they're not like, this is what I did 40 years ago and I get to do it again.
I'm the former member of AOD, or I'm the,
Yeah,
not
like,
putting somebody milking something to death.
if someone wants me to play in England, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? So good for those guys. But my point is, they'll do Fear Gods. They're not just doing AOD. They're doing their new stuff. You've got a ton of stuff going on as always. A lot of our buddies, are still active doing things. Some people just fall by the wayside because shit happens. You get families and jobs, and that's that. But there is definitely a core people in Jersey who are still keeping the ball in the air. And I'm happy, A, you survived that shit you were going through back in the day, and you're here in 2025 doing this stuff and helping the bands because you've always been a helper. You know, Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers says, look for the helpers. You've always, you've always been a helper, man, and I'm really happy that you're doing what you're doing. I appreciate you coming on this podcast. I'm going to have tons of links in the video description for people watching this. We're going to have a lot of old friends watching this one. I want to make sure everybody knows what you're doing right now. They can check out your stuff, support it. And I'll make sure whatever you want in that video description, we'll have those links in there. And just want to say, man, love you to death. Good to see you. Good to have this chat. And I hope we get to do it again sometime soon. Hopefully in person.
Why don't you come out October 4th at the Beer Works in Asbury? That's gonna be our record release party for Kirby Kiss. And
Hmm.
we've been talking about the Misfits. We're playing with the Myths.
I've heard of that.
Awesome fucking band, dude. So much fun. I've been listening to them. I'm like, can't wait. And what's great is we're going on first. We're opening the show for our record release because we want to have a good time and fucking watch the show. So if you're in the area, man, please come on down.
Yeah, definitely. I know I'm going to be hitting Jersey in October. I got to figure out when the dates land. If not this show, I guarantee you there will be a show soon. I'll be at. I'm not going to be, yo, check it out. I never see you. I'm going to
No,
come down.
I know eventually we'll cross.
Yeah, man. Hey, we just did after so many years, man. So we'll have to shorten that time frame for the next conversation, which I'm looking
Definitely.
to. But until that time, man, all the best to you, and we will talk again soon.
You too, man. Always a pleasure.